Hi everyone, my name is Laurie. Welcome back to another edition of DR Boxing, the show that covers all the relevant stories in boxing. Now, talking about relevant stories, one story that's caught my attention this week was the news of the proposed fight between AJ and Dillian Whyte appears to have broken down. It would appear, for whatever reason, that Dillian's pricing himself out, and the favourite to replace him is now Jarrell Big Baby Miller, or as I like to call him, Big Pharmacy Miller. Now, I've got to say straight up, I'm disappointed, very disappointed, that Big Pharmacy Miller appears to be the front runner for the AJ fight, because personally, I don't want to see this guy in boxing anymore. He's failed numerous drugs tests, doesn't seem to have heeded any of the warnings, any of the lessons, any of the fines and the suspensions. He's just a bad apple. To me, he should be done with, but it is what it is. In boxing, unfortunately, cheats do prosper. You only got to look at the current landscape. Two of our best high-profile world champions, Tyson Fury, Canelo, all former drugs cheats. But that's just a story for another show. But let me ask Shane.
Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly. It's been proven that they're drugs cheats. So less of that, less simping and more conversating. Shane, Big Baby Miller, are you with that?
I don't think it's going to happen, for one. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think it's going to happen because the amount of slack that Eddie Hearn's going to get for making that fight, that is going to be one of the hardest sells. Like, after all that he said, I mean, he could never
Tell the people what he said.
I mean, for one, he said he'll never work with anyone who's proven to be a drugs cheat. He said that. He ended up working with Canelo, but we move.
Canelo's one of his main clients.
He also said that he will never work with Jarrell Miller again because, in his words, you tried to inflict harm on my mate, which is Anthony Joshua. So he will never work with him again. In my opinion, I don't think it will happen. And should it happen, definitely not. I mean, like, AJ is supposed to be fighting Deontay Wilder in December. Either you don't take a fight in between, or you don't take Jarrell Miller. I mean, I don't even know why.
There's plenty of fighters out there you could take, to be honest. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Jarrell Miller should be one of them. But you haven't got an opponent you'd like to see him fight?
Well,
who should he fight?
I did want to see the Dillian Whyte fight. I genuinely wanted.
If not Dillian, then who?
Well, you got to be very careful because you got to match him with someone who you think is going to look good against, but also not going to be too much of a walkover.
Yeah.
Personally,
and he has got a new trainer.
Personally, I would actually want to see him fight with someone who probably resembles Wilder in terms of dimensions. I might want to see him fight like a Hughie Fury or something like that. Like someone
Hughie Fury.
Because the British public know who he is. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not so sure about you, Fury.
I think he's a great fighter. I don't want John Fury to see me and punch me up.
I think John Fury might be a better.
Yeah, might be. No, I'll tell you who he should fight. Yeah, I tell you, there's one.
No,
man
before we go there.
Fight.
Jarrell Miller, what's your views on
no,
that?
I don't want to see. I don't even want to see that fight. I didn't even want to see Dillian Whyte. Look, I get the Miller fight. I get the Dillian Whyte fight because there's bad blood there. Jarrell Miller was the one guy like Dillian that actually really got under Anthony Joshua's skin, really got him speaking. That interview, that face-to-face that never got uploaded. Man, I would pay you millions of pounds just to see that interview.
To see Big Pharmacy Miller being roided out.
To see AJ
on roid rate.
To see AJ get in there, get a bit involved. That's why that fight makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in a fighting perspective. He's talking about having a warm-up fight for a Deontay Wilder. He's talking about having a warm-up fight for a Usyk again, for a Tyson Fury. Those are not fights that.
So who should he fight?
There is one fight, and it is Big Bang Zhang. Zhang is in the mix. Zhang is in the mix for Usyk's title. He's in the mix.
Too much of a risk.
No, but it's a good in the middle fight. I think Zhang's a good competitor. I think he's earned a title shot. But I don't think he's going to get. I don't think he's going to get a title shot anytime soon. I think it is still going to be another year or so before he gets one. So in the interim, I think it's a great job for both fighters, because if Zhang is able to knock off Anthony Joshua, the next fight undoubtedly is a title shot. He's a lot bigger star. It makes whatever title shot he has after a bigger fight, because he's beaten AJ. If AJ beats Zhang, he's beaten what is the number one contender. So he's back in the mix. And the way Zhang dispatched of Joe Joyce, who everyone was saying should be fighting Fury or Usyk, if AJ manages to go and dispatch of Zhang, then it puts him in a great position.
That's too much of a risk. That's too much of a risk.
You know what? I'm going to say this, yeah? It's taken us a number of editions now. But finally, you've actually come out with something that makes sense. And of course, Zhang, what you said there is true, and they do have history, because AJ not only beat Zhang, but he knocked him down in the Olympics in 2012 when he went on to win the gold medal. Now, let's bring in the voice of reason, Nick Francis.
The thing is, the Venn diagram...
Before you go there, should AJ fight Big Pharmacy Miller?
No, he shouldn't.
Who would you like to see
I don't
fight?
like Jarrell Miller in the sport, but like you said, I feel a bit hypocritical being like, he takes all these drugs, because we do have so many people that have taken drugs and that we've seen and that entertain us and different things like that. So, even Dillian Whyte's had drug problems in the past, and we're pretty keen on seeing Anthony Joshua fight him. I think I've been well documented on this. Maybe I have to take off my hat of being the voice of reason. I'm well documented on this channel as saying that I think that AJ is mentally shot. I've said it a number of times, and I think that they are looking for someone. The reason they want Dillian Whyte, partly, obviously he sells because people know him in Britain, but I think they want someone that AJ's previously beat. I think putting AJ in there with any unknown quantity is a massive risk.
No, but to be fair though, you can't hate on that because he's got the big fight coming up in December.
So why would you risk?
1 second, I'm not hating at all. I don't mind James's choice. Maybe Zhang makes sense because AJ has dropped him before, and so he may not feel that level of intimidation. I'm not mad at a Joe Joyce fight potentially, as somebody that was also in line.
Let's be honest. It's very unlikely that the Zhang fight will happen because Joe Joyce and Zhang are committed to a rematch.
Yes.
Is there anyone out there that you think would make a worthy and, let's face it, a believable opponent for AJ?
All of the guys that are fringe top 5, outside of the top 5 and maybe in the top 10, I would like to see AJ fight, but a lot of them are not going to generate the money. So we're just not going to see that. I've long said that I want to see AJ fight Frank Sanchez. We're just not going to see it. Not going to generate enough money.
It's a big risk.
No, 100%. But even when he still had the belts, even if he beat Usyk, there's AJ similarly to what we said about Canelo. AJ will retire with a lot of food left on the table because he's got himself into such a position of so much money. He has to fight these big money guys, and of the top 10 guys in the division currently, a lot of them he hasn't fought.
What about Michael Hunter, Martin Bakole?
Michael Hunter tucks him in.
Michael Hunter's fighting this week, by the way. But just
what about Martin Bakole?
Again,
Bakole tucks him in.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't think these guys are better fighters than AJ, but in the condition that AJ's in as a wounded animal, it's over.
But Nick, this is the thing. Like, you guys are suggesting people. Yeah. If I've got 50 million, and that's what Eddie Hearn said to fight Deontay Wilder, but I'm fighting the easiest can.
Give me some names. Be creative.
As I said, Hughie Fury, I'll fight Manuel Char. I'll fight the easiest name because I don't want to fight no one.
You've got to have an eye on selling the fight. With respect, Manuel Char and Hughie Fury, that's not
Dominic Brazil? Do you go back to Brazil?
He fought him already.
Could you imagine if after all these years we finally get Anthony Joshua versus a Fury and it's not Tyson Fury? That is going to be public outrage.
I don't need to sell it because I got 50 million on the table already.
Right,
Why do I need to sell it?
With your boxing knowledge, be a bit more creative. You've got to come up with a name that is not just somebody who's going to roll over, but somebody that does have a certain amount of appeal.
But why? Because you just
I'm asking. We're being hypothetical.
But why do you need to have a certain amount of appeal?
Be creative. Come up with, instead of rubbish and everything.
I've given you 2 names already.
Put your promoter's hat on. Give me a name that you think, okay, he's beatable, but he's also sellable to the public.
There is no one in AJ's condition that is. I would put him in there that's sellable. Who I think he will beat.
And Zhang.
Zhang
has a shot. The way Zhang fights, yeah, it's a risk.
So why take it?
The way Zhang fights is very beatable style for Anthony Joshua.
Do you think that AJ's finished then? Because if you're saying that he can't beat the 2 champions and he's a huge risk for any of the other people in top 10.
No, I'm not saying it. To me, if I've got 100 million on the table or 50 million on the table, I am taking someone who I'm 90% sure I'm beating. Am I 90% sure that... Wait, 1 second. Am I 90% sure that I will beat Zhang? No, I'm not. So therefore, I'm not taking it.
So you're a little bit behind us in terms of this AJ management career. So let's say he takes on one of the people you said, Hughie Fury, Char, he beats them. Who does he fight next then?
Wilder's already done. Wilder's already done. The deal was already done. So why am I taking that risk? Eddie Hearn said we are fighting Deontay Wilder in Saudi for 50 million.
Right,
so why am I doing that? It's already done.
But to progress to a Wilder, you want to warm up like this. You don't go for it. You don't go from Franklin to someone worse and then up to Wilder. You need to progress. He needs a fight to warm
He's a
up
world
for
champion.
Deontay Wilder.
He's a former world champion.
He still needs
all
to
right, James,
up.
let me cut in there, right? Because I know you're all trying to get your saying. It's a very emotive subject. You came out with Zhang, which personally I think, if that could happen, That would be a great fight, but it's unlikely because him and Joyce are committed to the rematch, like I said. Is there anyone else out there? Be creative. Put your promoter's hat on.
Daniel
Give me a
Dubois?
couple of names.
Dubois.
Actually, that's
Dubois is
although he's
another
gonna be
beatable
fighting
fight,
Usyk,
another
so.
big name that's
Yeah,
very
British name,
beatable.
yeah.
Exactly. I think Dubois or Zhang are the two
That's a
people
risk
I'd put him in
again.
against. Because they're both winnable. If you look at styles with Anthony Joshua, they're both very winnable fights for him.
Yeah.
They're both very hittable, and they're also both big names that will help propel the stock.
I
of
think
Anthony
Dubois is a
Joshua
good name,
back
but
up.
I think it's pretty much out there that Dubois is lined up to fight Usyk.
Yeah, exactly. But that's
Is there
what I mean.
anyone else?
But Zhang is also lined up for a title shot.
Any of his, I'm telling you now. 'cause
No,
I
just
took-
give me
I'm-
put your promoter's hat on.
Any of the, what I would be looking at is any of his previous opponents that he's already beaten that have any decent looking knockout, even if they are knocking out someone in Dominican Republic or in Qatar,
Carlos
whatever.
Takam.
Carlos Takam.
He just come off a knockout win.
Any of the previous opponents that I know my fighter has already beaten, he's lacking confidence that he can go in there and know he can beat this guy because he's already done it, but we can sell it off of, oh, look at the knockout he just had. Listen, he's back in shape. That's what I would be looking at.
You know what
Facts.
I'm minded to think, having heard all three of you speak? We're kind of ending up, now I know why they've gone for Jerome Miller.
Yes.
Because there's no one out there really, is there?
I mean, I can name you the top 10 in heavyweight, but
Andy
none of them are.
Ruiz?
There's no
That's
way.
a risk, bro. That is a
But
risk.
he's not mentally. He's not mentally there. If he walks in a ring with Ruiz and Ruiz hits him, he's
No,
going to get all
don't forget,
types
he
of
did beat
Why
Ruiz.
can he
He
not
did
take
beat
a
Ruiz in the
risk?
rematch.
But he's more mentally shot
Why
than he
would
was
he
in the
not
rematch.
take a risk, man?
With 50 million on the table.
This is Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua's never run from a challenge in his
You were
life.
just telling us that it's okay to take the easiest fights for the most money. You just told us that.
Yes, but Canelo has reached the summit of his career and he's coming back
So is
down.
AJ.
Anthony Joshua still wants
has
to
no-
get
he's
back
lost his
there.
belt.
He wants the
Derek
Fury
Chisora?
fight and he wants the Wilder fight. The Wilder fight is not the easiest fight for the most money. That is
It's
one
the
of
most money,
dangerous-
though. It's the
one-
most money.
No, Tyson Fury is the most money. And if you're talking about what's more risky, Deontay Wilder has a better chance of flatlining Anthony Joshua than Tyson
I would
Fury.
argue.
So that's more risk for less money.
Tyson Fury is not more money than Deontay Wilder.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
They're
Tyson
not.
Fury, Anthony Joshua is the biggest fight in boxing
I think
history.
you can gather by the tone of the debate that this one's not as straightforward as it seems. And now, having heard you guys speak, I can kind of see why Eddie Hearn is plucking that big Pharmacy Miller name out the air because he's running out of options.
Like I said before, AJ will never be a world champion again unless he fights for a vacant belt.
Well, okay, we'll see. That's in the future. Thanks for that. Moving on then, let's talk about something a bit more current, like fight previews for this weekend. Not much big fights out there this weekend. In fact, it's a pretty quiet weekend, if I've got to be honest. But one fight did take my eye, and that's the super middleweight clash taking place over in New York at Madison Square Garden. A don't know about top prospect, a prospect. Eddie Hearn's matchroom signing. What's his name? No, Edgar Berlanga takes on Ireland's Jason Quigley in a 12-round fight. Just a little look at Edgar Berlanga, 26 years old, born in New York, of Puerto Rican heritage, 20-0, 16 KOs. He is seen as a top super middleweight prospect. He did amass a very impressive,
16 and 16. His first
round KOs.
His first 16 fights was 16 knockouts in the first round.
And that was a joint world record, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But since then, his last couple of fights, he's been stepped up, and it has to be said he's not looked
Horrible.
that good. In fact, he's looked pretty...
He got dropped in 2 of them.
Yeah,
he got
he's
dropped in
pretty-
2 fights.
So this fight, he's looked pretty average. He said he put it down to various things, change of trainer, this and that. You know what boxers are like. They're super excuse makers, but he had excuses for that. But he says he's fully recharged. He's had a rest. He's back out. He's winning with a new promoter, which is Eddie Hearn. He's got this fight on Saturday against Jason Quigley. He's looking to do a number on Quigley. Let's have a quick look at Quigley before I bring in the panel. Jason Quigley's from Ireland, 32 years old now. He was a top amateur. He's former Irish champion as amateur, former European amateur champion, former amateur silver medalist. So he's got good stock as an amateur. Not as good as a pro, although he's had 20 wins as a pro, 14 KOs, 2 losses. Demetrius Andrade beat him by KO. He also lost to Turiano Johnson. His best win as a pro, I think, is probably Shane Mosley Jr., and that's not Shane Mosley,
The older
Shane Mosley,
one.
that's his son. So I think it's fair to say his career so far has been a bit underwhelming. So it is a winnable fight for Edgar Berlanga. Let's start with Shane. Your views on this fight, bro?
Nah, I think it's a good fight because, like, honestly, there's a big Irish following in New York. So You want to obviously sell the fight. Edgar Berlanga, you probably say he's probably like 2-3 fights away from fighting at world level, but he's got a very big following for someone at his stage in his career. You're probably going to see him fight a Canelo sometime soon. So you need someone who he can beat. You know, Quigley's fought at middleweight for most of his career, so moving up to super middleweight against a known puncher, he should deal with him pretty quickly and pretty easily. And a show roll knockout, and then after the fight, I want you, Canelo. That's an easy sell for him, you know, moving forward. So I understand why they're making the fight. But
you mentioned Canelo there, and before I bring in the other two, sorry guys, I think I was going to say it, so I'll say it now, that I think that's one of the reasons why this fight is catching interest, because it's been muted by a lot of people that Berlanga could be a possible future opponent for Canelo.
You said that first, though. You were the first person I heard say that.
because I'd seen the rumours swirling around on social media. Right, okay, that being said, Nick, this fight on Saturday, Edgar Berlanga versus Jason
kind of a puncher versus boxer type fight.
It's definitely that.
And I mean, you've got to be looking at Berlanga. If he wants to progress in his career, he's got to be getting back to knockouts, and this is the type of opponent that he needs to be knocking out. He'll probably be behind on cards, middle rounds, and then
knock him out in the second round.
So I'm trying to give some respect to Quigley.
Quigley's got a decent chin.
But also he's an accomplished amateur. You know, I don't think he's an accomplished amateur.
And I know, but Andrade knocked him out in 5 rounds, and Andrade isn't a big puncher.
Andrade's a very, very good boxer, though.
He's a brilliant fighter.
He's a very good boxer. I think
his punching power's a little bit underrated. You know, I think he's dropped most of the people
in the first round. He dropped everyone he's fought. Andrade dropped everyone he's fought.
I think you're doing Quigley a little bit of an injustice.
Maybe.
But you know, we'll see. But I would say middle round.
I think it's a good opponent for Berlanga, to be honest. Because let's face it, we spoke about this type of thing before when we discussed AJ and that. When you're matchmaking, you have to get the ambience to get the match right, don't you? You don't want. Especially someone who's been out the ring for a while, like Berlanga.
Been out for over a year.
Yeah, you don't want to come back against a killer, do you?
You need to get the ring rust out of your system.
Right, okay, segues now.
The way he's been talking recently about Canelo, I'm sorry, if you go in there against Jason Quigley and this even looks somewhat competitive, you're going to look like a mug. The way he's been talking about the pound-for-pound king, Saul Canelo Alvarez, you have to go in there and make a statement. Flatline.
Did you just say pound for pound king?
He has to flatline him, though. He's right, though. He has to flatline him. For me,
he has to wipe him out. Obviously, the pound for pound king is a debate you see in another video. Check that on DL Sports. But no, the way he's been talking, you cannot go in there and have a competitive fight. You just can't. I'm afraid. I know you've been out the ring for a year. I know you need to get some rounds in theoretically to get the ring rust out.
But you say that, but looking at it, and this is to all of you now. Looking at it, if you're Quigley, you're looking at this as an opportunity to extend your career and get, if he does well here, it can open up doors for him.
Definitely.
Belanga's seen as a top prospect, even though we don't all see him quite as that. But if Quigley was to go in there and do well against him, or even, God forbid, beat him, that will open up.
I guarantee you, if he beats Berlanga, he fights Canelo next.
He does kind of fit the prototype, doesn't he? Kind of British fighter.
Literally, it'd just be another John Ryder.
Literally. No, but if he does, that's mad. Because if you look at it, he's had one fight since 2021, which was 2 months ago against Gabor Gobics, a guy who has 26 wins and 36 losses on his resume. If he then goes and batters up Berlanga, I'm sorry, but that is not a good look for Berlanga. It's not a good look for Eddie Hearn. It's not a good look for Canelo. It's not a good look for anybody.
If he's going to win, it's got to be on points, right?
And will he get a decision, though, over Berlanga
in New York?
Don't forget, Berlanga was born in Brooklyn.
And also, you got to remember, this is his first week, his first fight with Matchroom. Matchroom just had a controversial card the week before. They are making sure that another marquee signing in Berlanga doesn't have one of them tough nights that Regis had last week. So, trust me.
By the way, I thought Regis lost.
I thought Regis won, but it
was
terrible fight. I know we're segueing into something different, but I saw the fight. I watched it live because I watched that fight thinking that Regis was going to get him out of there in about 4 or 5 rounds. So I stayed up, watched it. Regis got dropped in the first round. He even admitted that after the fight. Yeah. It was a terrible fight.
Respect him for admitting it as well.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But he was awful. He didn't have to shut down the ring. He stopped throwing punches. He didn't have a jab. He looked awful.
Couldn't close the
distance. It didn't really look like Regis Prograis at all.
No.
Well, maybe he's not as good as we thought.
Regis is one of my favourite fighters, so he's one of my favourite.
Yeah, mate. The way I see it from that performance, Haney.
Haney's one of my favourite fighters as well, so I'll be going to that fight. If they make that fight, I'm going to that fight as well. So.
Okay, then we've segued enough out of that one. Right, let's get back in it. Prediction time. Let's start with James. He's been getting a few right recently. Berlanga Quigley.
I think I know where you're going. He flatlines in round 3.
Why am I not surprised you said that? What
because
round?
He needs to, round 3. He needs to get him out of there early. He does not. The way he's been talking, I'm presuming that something's been happening in sparring to build up his confidence.
He's talking very confident.
He is.
Shane.
I have to agree with James on this one. If he doesn't flatline in the first half of the fight, I would say probably a little bit like 5-6. But if he doesn't, boy, it's disappointing.
Nick?
I was going to say round 6. Round 6 stoppage.
Right, okay. I'm going to go against the grain a little bit. I think
Quigley win.
No, I'm not going to go for a win because I don't think even if he did win, he's not going to get a decision over Berlanga in New York, especially when this is seen as Berlanga's stepping stone into the big time. So, it's not going to happen like that. But I do think he'll go the distance because I'm still not sold on Berlanga. Yes, he can punch a bit hard, but some of those opponents, man, they were very poor. As soon as they stepped him up, even so slightly, he's starting to look a little bit.
His perfect opponent next, if he beats Quigley, is Gabe Rosado, in my opinion.
No, Gabe Rosado's retired.
Oh, he's retired?
Yeah, he's retired now.
That would have been a brilliant fight. Puerto Rican, that would have been a brilliant. Philly versus New York, that would have been a perfect fight.
Yeah, he's retired, man. He's retired.
Because he's supposed to fight
I think that's retired. That retirement is justified as well because he's starting to get beat up a little bit.
This is his style of fighting as well.
That would have been perfect.
So there you have it, folks. We unanimously agreed that's something that we're not always in tune on, but we are on this one. The only thing is these three think that Berlanga's going to do him well inside the distance. I think that Quigley will have enough savvy and skill and athleticism to last to the final bell, but we'll see. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video. Press the notification bell for future content from this channel. And if you like your football, don't forget to get down to the New River Sports Centre this coming Saturday, the 24th of June. New River Sports Centre for the Claude Cup. Yes, the Claude Cup. All the proceeds will go to charity. It's going to be a great day. Yeah. AFTV FC versus DR All-Stars. All these guys will be there.
Unfortunately, you won't.
Shane will be there.
If you want to see me wrap one top bins and walk away into the masses with that trophy hoisted up with my brothers from DR Sports.
You know what? That's about as unlikely.
Schmucks from AFTV FC sit there looking on.
Is Laurie playing?
No, Laurie's not playing. No, I'm not. Laurie's managing.
What I was going to say is, what you just described there is as unlikely as Canelo agreeing to fight Benavidez. Nick, let's leave the last word with you, my friend.
I was just going to say, I heard from certain sources that James is starting on the bench. He's not even going to start the game. So
who are these sources, mate?
Good luck, James.
Whoever that source is, that's a rookie mistake because you need to start the king of the pin in that match there. Put me on the wing, and ain't nobody's living with me.
That's it, guys. We're out. Thank you very much. See you guys soon.